The film takes place in 1975 in a Cambodian city named Phnom Penh. After the Vietnam War, the Americans have at last pulled out of Phnom Penh, which was an unbiased zone. The occupants of the city are excited and are expecting a superior existence without any feeling of dread toward savagery. Among the revelers, a 9-member family known as the Lungs. Paul, the father, is an official in the public military and is a well-off man taking great consideration of his loved ones. Loom, the middle child, is the main character. She is an ambitious young girl who is still learning how to live life. Unaware of what life has in store for them, the Long family lives a regular day. The end of the war and the re-establishment of peace in their city are being celebrated by the populace outside. They are unaware that the Communist Party known as the Khmer Rouge is preparing an attack on the city in order to capitalize on the unstable political situation. It is in a Khmer Rouge army and interrupts the celebration by urging people to immediately leave their homes, as everybody else. The youthful family needs to pack the fundamentals and abandon everything they've worked for to avoid being retaliated against. The Cambodian soldiers are stripped out of their garments and seized of their weapons. As a result, the communist group has complete control over the city and its refugees. In the hope of finding a safe place to live, thousands of people travel to the campsites in the countryside. The young family also climbs into their vehicle and joins the other people. After driving for half an hour, one of the rebels pulls them over and demands that they abandon their vehicle. He asserts that it will slow them down and be more useful to the city guarding soldiers. Pa Ang is aware that they are being robbed, but he must comply to ensure the safety of his family. The rebels begin to divide the common people from government employees at a later point in the journey. They don't want any spice to be avoided by government employees in the refugee camp. Stop, anxious, since, supposing that they figure out he is in the public armed force powers, his life will end short. He thus throws his state card into the fire at night when nobody is looking. It befuddled the Loom, gets him in the demonstration, however says nothing like her kin. When Paul questions her, she abruptly stops in her tracks because she does not comprehend the gravity of the situation and believes that they will return to the warmth of their home in a few days. 3 exhausting days later, their journey has not come to an end. She asserts that they should already be at home. The man makes the decision to tell her the truth, saying that they won't be home soon, but he wants her to believe he will protect her no matter what. They reach a checkpoint a few hours later, where the soldiers seize all of their belongings. Loon observes a basket being filled with her favorite dress. Additionally, all of their funds are taken away. As per the revolutionaries, they are beginning another standard in Cambodia where class doesn't exist. Cash won't be essential, and everybody will be equivalent. While Paul watches some of his co-workers being held hostage because they used to work for the government, he lies about his occupation to avoid being discovered. By that evening, the family at long last arrives at the open country and perceives how inverse it is of the rich daily routine they were experiencing in the city. The revered monks are one thing that catches Loon's attention. Compelled to work in the paddy field right when the young lady begins to overreact. In the crowd, they see a familiar face. Lee, their uncle, who is a rural farmer, has arrived to assist them. He lets them stay with him at his house and start a new life there. When little Loon sees the house, she says that her uncle is poor. In turn, her father explains to her that their family is Portuguese and will have to live differently in a few days. Over. Loom. Here is the seniors talk and figures out Uncle Lee backings the socialist gathering who he thinks will save them from the Americans. She is disturbed by his silence regarding his support for the people who drove them out of their home. The exceptionally following day, their family is approached to find asylum elsewhere. Because Paul will be serving in the army if the rebels find out. Lee's family will also face difficulties. The Youngs grasp that level, situationally, is in and get together to go to the closest displaced person camp. In the middle of the night, a car picks them up, and by morning, they are at the camp. They quickly discover that the camp resembles a prison with revolutionary-sounding regulations. In order to show that they are on the same level as everyone else, they are first asked to dye their clothes black. Then, the young lady's hair is trimmed and they are isolated into gatherings to do weighty work. The refugees of all ages work all day in the field, hours at a time, planting grains and vegetables. However, When harvest time arrives, the rebels consume all of the food, leaving the refugees with nothing but scraps. One evening, nutcase observes an execution of an individual exile who utilized present-day medication to fix his perishing child. Rather than the medication the system supports, following 2 months of living in such a condition, the family is feeble and becoming more diseased. The communist army fighting throughout the state requires assistance. Then, one day, the young refugees are all invited to join the army. Counting the 3 oldest small kids, a troublesome farewell denotes the final time the family will at any point be together. Now with just her folks and 3 kin, Loom feels like her life couldn't be more terrible, yet much to her dismay what's to come has available for her. The kids continue to work 10 hours per day in the field without food or water, so life goes on as usual. Loon's sister is caught sneaking a single bean into her mouth during harvest time. She is beaten and robbed for making the error. The rebel, fortunately, does not inform the camp leader. Paul is seen filling a pouch with a handful of rice at night. He accumulates some every day to ensure that his family will have food when needed. The family broils crickets for the evening and eats them, envisioning that they are eating the chicken soup their mom used to cook that evening. Lingered fantasies about partaking in her #1 ribs, and in a snapshot of craze, eats the rice put away for crisis toward the beginning of the day. Her brother punishes her for it. However, Paul stands by her side and tenderly caresses her. The family receives bad news as the days pass. In a fight, one of the younger siblings had died. Nutcase watches her mom break into wails and recollects how she used to be before life went ahead. The death has a negative impact on the family, but another obstacle prevents them from recovering. Paul is required to visit the city. After he leaves, everyone will be aware of this to mend a broken bridge. The likelihood of his return is high. The kids were watching as the parents said their goodbyes with tears, ignoring the seriousness of the situation that night. Lou imagines the rebels killing her father. She sheds a single tear when they throw him into a graveyard, adjusting to the fact that she won't see him again. Additionally, I found Air Bud to be a sad film. After a few weeks, in order to feed the hungry children, they are denied food for 2 whole days. The mother faces a challenge and advises them to take food from the nursery. Be that as it may, the arrangement closes terribly when Nutcase's sibling is gotten and beaten. Having had enough, the mother requests that they take off and track down different camps with a superior living conditions. The children should head out in a different direction and let individuals know that they are vagrants. Their best chance of survival is to never reveal their real names to others. The rebels' words. The children pack a picture of their family and leave behind their mother and youngest sibling in the following hour. At the point when the sun rises, the 3 go over an executed sculpture of the rebels have peed on that. Before Loon's brother departs from her and her sister and embarks on his own journey, they offer their prayers to the statue. The girls come across a group of soldiers a few miles later, and they led them to the nearest camp. After arriving at there, Loom figures out it is a camp for youngsters where they are shown about socialist publicity. She and her sister start living with the other children after lying about their names. Since they are currently treated as future agitators, their eating routine and way of life is superior to the way things were previously. They are disciplined and given fixed timetables instead of training throughout the day. Lou's friendliness and fighting spirit are noticed by the head soldier. As a result, she is moved to a camp far from her sister. Loom in areas where children receive military training. Through the training, learns to fight, shoot, and make mine traps. She seizes the chance to travel to the other camp to spend a few hours with her sister. Instead, she travels to the original camp in the hope of meeting her mother and packs food in her scarf. However, the camp and her house surprised her. Are abandoned. She imagines her crying younger sibling and her mother amidst a heap of bodies. Afterward, a woman illuminates her that the troopers killed every individual who was feeble and removed the excess exiles. Nobody is aware of where they went. Loom cannot even meet the mother if she is still alive. In the end, the little girl returns helplessly the same night to her camp. Vietnamese shelling strikes the camp. Boisterous commotions and blasts wake everybody up, soliciting their flight into the woods. Unprepared for the approaching real war, many young children die. Main goal is to track down her sister, yet she can't do as such. Amid the disorder, the camps are eventually demolished, and civilians flee to escape the war. Everyone is searching for a safe place to stay in Loon the following morning. After hours of walking, the people finally arrive at a temporary refugee camp managed by Vietnamese troops. She is surprised to meet both of her siblings, and the three of them share an emotional reunion. Even though they come from the opposing side, the Vietnamese assist the injured with modern medicine. Makes friends with a different group and decides to take a day off. Be that as it may, their alleviation is fleeting when just hours after the fact, the camp is gone after by the socialists. The innocent civilians flee into the woods in retaliation, but they come across the mines that Lu and her friends planted during training. Lu puts the blame for the deaths of innocent people in explosions on herself. She is compelled to pause and reflect on everything that has transpired in her life as a result of the sight. That's when the young girl finds out that her childhood has been destroyed by violence. She will also do everything in her power to improve her life. In the accompanying scene, the fight has finished and the evacuees are building their very own camp. They have successfully captured a communist terrorist and are publicly humiliating him for his actions. Because she sees her father in the man, young Lu can't help but feel bad for him. The prisoner is left to die in the sun by the people, but she stays with him for a long time. The scene cuts to a few weeks later. The siblings' lives have improved since the rebels were defeated by the Vietnamese, and she is thinking about her family and comparing his situation to theirs. One day, these troops' two older brothers, who made it out of the camps, come looking for their family, and the siblings get back together once more. In the final scene, we see that the young children have all matured. They are extremely thankful that they were able to endure such a harsh environment. They pray to a group of monks at the end of the movie. Turn on notifications, please subscribe for more videos like this, and like the channel to support it. Thank you very much for watching.